Hi, Peter Godinez again here at KDYTV.com, your ambassador with Good Morning Oxnard. And again, just to say, I'm always excited about the souls, the personalities, the people I get a chance to engage and talk to. This is Michael Gleason from the West Village part of Oxnard, the neighborhood. And we are so fortunate to have him. He is the chairperson, a leader, an example of represents this particular community, and I'm so excited to have you here. So thank you so much for sharing some of your time today.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. Just a little bit about myself.
Please.
I'm the youngest of 3 kids, a single mom, and I always think of my mom when I try to figure out how I should conduct myself. And
That's beautiful.
I always think, what would my mom think about this? Would this make her proud, or would it make her ashamed? And so I always keep that in my mind. And you know, my mom was a school teacher for 40 years, so you can imagine that integrity was a major part of the core values that I learned from her. And,
beautiful.
So I've been the neighborhood chair for West Village about, I guess, 9 years, a little over 9 years maybe. And some of the things that have come across the radar a number of times, the sports park site, which is at the corner of Gonzales and Oxnard Boulevard, about a 21-acre site. It's supposed to be a sports park. And most of the residents that live in our neighborhood, they were sold on those homes with that feature in mind. In other words, you're going to have a really nice sports park here on your corner. And so that, for a number of years, has been a hope that all the residents have maintained. But so far, it's still just a field of weeds and trash blowing around, and it's pretty ugly. And of course, the city's response all the time is, well, there's no money. And so we are still hoping that will become a park and not get developed as apartments, which there's been attempts to do so. And there's also been attempts to bring in a big sports venue, arena type situation, which we did not support. And so that's one of the items that was actively pursued with previous chairs, and also while I've been serving as a chair. And then about 3 years ago, there was another major issue that kind of poked its head up and wanted attention. That's the landscape maintenance districts. And so a little over 3 years ago, a small group of the neighbors said, hey, how come we can't get the trees trimmed? And how come these detention basin fences are falling down, and kids go in there and hang out, and it's dangerous, and how come we can't get it fixed? And I'm paying this extra money on my taxes for landscape maintenance district. What does that pay for, and how come we can't get this stuff fixed? So, relatively new at that time, the city manager, Gregory Nyhoff, met with us at our neighborhood meeting, and a lot of these questions came up, and he made a number of promises that included, number one, if you paid too much money, you got charged too much money, you'll get it back. Number two, we'll answer the questions about where the money is, how much money is there. And so we met a number of times since then with Mr. Nyhoff and his staff. A lot of the questions were never answered until finally, later that year in 2015, the city hired a consultant, NBS, to audit the funds and the whole functions of these landscape maintenance districts. And so we still do not have a solution, although we know a fair amount more than we did at that time. We found out that a lot of the districts had not only been overassessed, but they had also been overcharged in a couple areas. One is utilities, the other is what they called city admin fees. The latter of those two was used to pay for things in other districts than where the money came from. And it's an issue where they routed money through the general fund and then back to another district to pay for stuff that should have been paid for by that district. Instead, the district that should have been paying for it basically got by with money from our district, some of our districts, and others in the city as well. The audit that was paid for by the landscape maintenance district members was supposed to have been released, but was then concealed because of the findings of NBS that were very potentially damaging, I think, to the city. And so we are still pursuing, trying to get those numbers released, get that audit released, and so that we can actually see the result of that. Even in the absence of that final audit, we have numbers that show clearly that some of the neighborhoods, some of the districts were way overcharged in those areas, in the utilities and the admin fees.
It's an interesting observation. And so just to build on that, because I know we could do more segments on that portion of it, and I think that was a really good description of what that, but are there other people within this neighborhood that maybe you can do a shout out to in terms of who are some of your other leaders, kind of put them on the spot, embarrass them, make them feel proud? Are there some people you want to mention here?
Yeah, there's the way this came about is a little interesting because it's not something that most of the neighborhood chairs get into, and it wasn't just me, but for example, the guy that called me one Sunday and just kept asking, how can we find this out? Why can't we get this stuff right? It was Philip Durante.
Philip Durante? Okay.
And he was a very vocal, very supportive in trying to get resolution on these issues. And then also late Marty Kaplan.
Who was that?
Late Marty Kaplan.
Late Marty Kaplan?
Passed away last year.
Okay, all right.
And his wife Lydia, Jan Carell, Juan Casillas and his wife, and also our current treasurer, Philip Molina. And then there were others, that participated in the neighborhood meetings, but those folks were all present at most of these meetings with the city manager and the staff. And so it's kind of a point of really the city not taking care of business,
right? But
at the same time, now it's an issue of trying to withhold the information and in effect concealing what actually went on with those monies.
It's interesting now that we are documenting and voicing our opinions. It's a good thing. And to your point, one of the things we had talked about before we interviewed was the need to be able to express problems and let's call it negative information, but even the more importance, Michael, of being able to promote positive portions of it, and a combination of both. And so I'm really glad that you are mentioning some personalities, some leadership qualities. I always like to know who the 20% of the people are in a community that really are making a difference, so the 80% benefit from it. So are there actually businesses, because when I envision where the park is, the top part of your community, what's the street that's on the top?
Gonzales on the north.
And then down to the
Camino del Sol to the south.
Okay, envision that, and then
and
east.
Oxnard Boulevard on the west,
Okay.
and Rose Avenue on the east. And so included in that neighborhood is Pacifica High School.
Okay.
And then is it the Rose Shopping at the Rose or Rose Ranch? The one
Yeah.
with the Walgreens
Yes.
and Wild Wings and
All that places. There's
And the
not
new-
forgetting restaurants and everything, but
Right.
there is commerce and business around there
Yes.
that basically is a part of this thing. So it makes it really fascinating. Your neighborhood has such a combination. There are 800 households, my understanding, in this particular neighborhood.
it's actually 1,800, roughly 1,800.
Let's put a 1 in front of
Yeah.
that 8. And then, I find that the amount of people who are on social media in this community, you're saying that like there's, I want to say 800, maybe that's why I got the
Yeah, I
number,
think it's,
registered on Nextdoor.
I believe it's more than a third of those total households are members on Nextdoor.com.
Wow.
And so we use that a lot to try to communicate with people, to let them know what's going on and try to promote the awareness of these issues and also any other communication. We use that extensively.
It's as much as I thought I knew about this community, just talking to you, Michael, I go, this is quite a winning combination. They got you as a leader. I know you have a wife who gives you counsel, and you're taking care of a world-class child who's going to grow up, make a difference in the world. You have 1,800 households in the area, 800 are on the social media. You have businesses in the area. You've had leaders visit it. So, Michael, I hope I'm not overselling this. This is kind of exciting. Do you guys have a logo and like a prayer and a chant, a cheer song that maybe we could do?
And not exactly.
And it's kind of a closing thing?
Not exactly.
All right, I'll calm down.
But one thing I would like to respond to that you said is trying to keep things positive. And one of the things that the city has tried to improve is the area of accountability and transparency. And it's been advertised a lot, but in some areas the delivery has been a little bit lacking. And so I really think, I feel strongly that the thing that has to happen first in relationship to these kinds of things where money is involved, is they have to first admit what happened, and fortunately we have now a good special district administrator is Sandra Burkhart, and she's doing a really good job trying to get things cleaned up and keep them clean.
Yeah, she's a former president of the Ventura Chamber of Commerce. That's where I remember Sandra from.
And she's really doing a good job. She needs all the support of the city to try to really make that part transparent and be fully accountable. As long as we're not getting the transparency that's being advertised, it's really hard to trust the city.
And I'm just one point of view, but it's just kind of like, I believe there is more of a spirit of transparency, honesty. But with that, Michael, I'm sure you agree, when all of a sudden the lights get turned on and everybody's saying, there's a little bit of embarrassment, there's a little bit of shame, there's a little bit of that pain that you have to go to get to the point of being honest, transparent, and all accountability and those types of things. So I guess it's through vehicles, and as I wrap this up, it's just I really appreciate you for taking the time to do this, and I hope we'll continue to do this and maybe get some of the leaders that you had talked about within this community. Thanks again for being a great husband, a great dad, a great citizen, and thank you so much for the Melrose advice you gave me some years ago. So we'll do a whole new segment on that. And with that, if it's okay with my producer, I'm going to call this a wrap. So Michael, thank you so much for your time, and we'll do this again.
Thank you very much.
So with that, again, Peter Godinez, your ambassador. Good morning, Oxnard. Until next time.